The howling winds of Kepler 22 bits whipped across Ethan's face as he trudged through the alien landscape. His expedition suit, designed to withstand the harsh conditions of this distant world, creaked with each labored step. The planet's dual suns cast an eerie glow across the barren, rocky terrain, creating long shadows that seemed to dance around him. Ethan had volunteered for this solo mission, eager to be the first human to set foot on this Earth-like planet. But after weeks of isolation and fruitless searching for signs of life, he was beginning to question his decision. The loneliness was crushing, the constant silence broken only by the sound of his own breathing and the occasional beep from his life support systems. As he crested yet another rocky hill, something caught his eye. A flash of color in the distance, out of place among the dull grays and browns of the alien landscape. Ethan's heart raced as he fumbled for his binoculars, hands shaking with excitement and trepidation. Through the lenses, he saw a figure moving gracefully across the rocky plain. It was unmistakably alien, its body lithe and elongated, with skin that shimmered like polished opal in the strange light of the twin suns. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. After all this time, all the disappointments, could this really be first contact? He hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to proceed. His training had prepared him for this moment, but now that it was here, all those protocols seemed inadequate. Taking a deep breath, Ethan stepped out from behind the rock formation and began making his way down the hill, trying to appear as non-threatening as possible. The alien creature turned, seeming to sense his presence. As Ethan drew closer, he could make out more details. The being was roughly humanoid in shape, but taller and more slender than any human. Its face was eerily beautiful, with large, almond-shaped eyes that glowed with an inner light. Those eyes fixed on Ethan now, filled with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. Ethan stopped a few meters away, his heart pounding so hard he was sure the alien could hear it. Slowly, he raised his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Hello," he said, his voice sounding strange and muffled through his helmet. "I mean you no harm." The alien tilted its head, studying him intently. Then, to Ethan's amazement, it spoke. The words were unlike any language he had ever heard, a melodic series of chirps and trills that seemed to bypass his ears and resonate directly in his mind. "You are not from here," the alien said, its mental voice tinged with wonder. Ethan blinked in surprise. "You can understand me." The alien's lips curled into what might have been a smile. "Not your words, your thoughts, your essence." A shiver ran down Ethan's spine. This was far beyond anything he had expected or prepared for. He took a tentative step forward, fascinated despite his apprehension. "My name is Ethan. I've come from a planet called Earth, very far from here." The alien's eyes seemed to glow brighter at this. "Perth," it repeated, as if tasting the word. "I am Naia. Welcome to my world, Ethan of Earth." As they stood there, human and alien regarding each other with equal parts curiosity and caution, neither could have imagined the profound impact this encounter would have on both their lives, and potentially the fate of two worlds. As the twin suns of Kepler 22 bits began to set, casting long shadows across the barren landscape, Ethan found himself following Naia towards a series of cave-like structures in the distance. His heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Every step took him further from his base camp and deeper into the unknown. "Your dwelling?" Ethan asked, gesturing towards the caves. Naia's mental voice resonated in his mind, a soothing melody that seemed to calm his nerves. "Yes, a sanctuary from the harsh winds and temperature fluctuations. You will be safe there." As they entered the cave, Ethan was struck by the sudden change in atmosphere. The howling winds outside faded to a distant whisper, replaced by an eerie silence. The walls of the cave seemed to glow with a soft, bioluminescent light, casting everything in an ethereal blue hue. "This is incredible," Ethan breathed, his eyes wide as he took in the alien beauty of the place. Naia watched him curiously, her opalescent skin shimmering in the dim light. You find it pleasing. It is but a simple dwelling compared to the wonders of your world, I'm sure. Ethan shook his head, still in awe. No, this is unlike anything I've ever seen. Thank you for sharing it with me. As they settled into the cave, Ethan began to remove his helmet, testing the air. To his surprise, it was breathable, if a bit thin. Naia watched this process with fascination, her large eyes fixed on his every movement. Your protective shell, she said, gesturing to his suit. It keeps you alive in our environment. Ethan nodded, explaining the basics of his expedition suit. As they talked, he found himself relaxing, the initial nervousness of their encounter giving way to genuine curiosity and interest. Naia was unlike any being he had ever encountered, her thoughts and perspectives alien yet somehow relatable. Hours passed as they exchanged information about their respective worlds and cultures. Ethan learned that Naia's species, which she called the Luminari, had a complex society based on shared consciousness and energy manipulation. In turn, he told her about Earth's diverse ecosystems and the myriad cultures of humanity. As their conversation deepened, Ethan began to feel a strange connection forming between them. It was as if Naia's presence was filling a void he hadn't even realized existed. The loneliness that had plagued him throughout his mission seemed to melt away in her company. You are different from the others of your kind I have encountered in my dreams, Naia said suddenly, her mental voice tinged with a mixture of curiosity and something else Ethan couldn't quite identify. You've dreamed of humans before? Ethan asked, surprised. Naia's skin rippled with what might have been embarrassment. Not dreams as you understand them. Our species has a connection to the cosmic consciousness. Sometimes we glimpse other worlds, other beings. But you are here. Real. Tangible. As she spoke, Naia reached out, her slender fingers hovering just above Ethan's arm. He could feel a strange tingling sensation, as if the very air between them was charged with electricity. May I? She asked, her eyes meeting his. Ethan nodded, holding his breath as Naia's hand made contact with his skin. The moment they touched, a jolt of energy surged through him. It wasn't painful, but intense, a rush of sensation and emotion that left him gasping. Images flashed through his mind, alien landscapes, strange beings, the vast expanse of space itself. For a brief moment, Ethan felt as if he could sense the entire universe, interconnected and alive. When the sensation faded, he found himself staring into Naia's eyes, which now glowed with an inner light that seemed brighter than before. There was a look of wonder on her alien features. Extraordinary, she whispered. Your essence, it's unlike anything I've encountered before. Ethan struggled to find words, still reeling from the experience. What was that? Naia's mental voice was soft, almost reverent. A glimpse of the connection my kind shares, a taste of the cosmic consciousness, and something more, something unique to you. As they sat there, human and alien, connected by this strange new bond, neither could have predicted the profound implications of their encounter or the challenges that lay ahead. The lines between their two species were beginning to blur, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath in anticipation of what was to come. As the days passed on Kepler 22 bits, Ethan found himself spending more and more time with Naia. Their initial curiosity about each other had blossomed into a deep friendship, transcending the vast differences between their species. Ethan's original mission objectives faded into the background as he became increasingly fascinated by Naia and her world. One evening, as they sat at the entrance of the cave, watching the twin suns set in a spectacular display of color, Naia turned to Ethan with an uncharacteristically serious expression. Ethan, she began, her mental voice tinged with hesitation, there is something I must tell you. Something about my nature, and why your presence here is so significant. Ethan felt a tingle of apprehension run down his spine. He had sensed that there was more to Naia than she had revealed, but he hadn't wanted to push. Now, it seemed, the truth was about to come out. What is it, Naia? He asked gently. Naia's skin rippled with what Ethan had come to recognize as a sign of emotional turmoil. My species, the Luminari, We are not like your kind. We do not sustain ourselves in the same way. She paused, seeming to gather her thoughts. We feed on energy, specifically the life energy of other sentient beings. Ethan's eyes widened, his mind racing to process this information. You mean you're some kind of energy vampire? Naia flinched at the term, but nodded slowly. In a manner of speaking, yes, but it is not a choice. It is our nature, our means of survival. She looked away, her gaze fixed on the horizon. For eons we lived in harmony with other species on this planet. We took only what we needed, and in return, we shared our knowledge and abilities. But over time, the other species died out or left. We were alone. Ethan listened, fascinated and horrified in equal measure. So when I arrived... Yes, Naia said, turning back to him. When you arrived, I sensed your energy immediately. It was intoxicating. Unlike anything I have encountered before, human essence is powerful, vibrant. She reached out, her hand hovering just above Ethan's chest. I can feel it even now, pulsing within you. It calls to me, Ethan. I need it to survive. Ethan's heart raced, a mixture of fear and something else, something he wasn't quite ready to name, coursing through him. Is that why you brought me here? To feed on me? Naia's eyes widened in distress. No, well, not entirely. I was drawn to you, yes, but I didn't anticipate. She trailed off, her mental voice filled with a tangle of emotions. Ethan waited, sensing there was more she needed to say. Finally, Naia continued, her voice barely more than a whisper in his mind. I didn't expect to care for you, Ethan, to value your friendship, your companionship. The thought of harming you, it pains me deeply. Ethan let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Despite the shocking revelation, he found that his trust in Naia hadn't wavered. There was a genuineness to her words, a vulnerability that touched him. So what happens now? He asked softly. Naia's gaze met his, her eyes glowing with an intensity that made his breath catch. I don't know. My people are dying, Ethan. Without a source of energy, we will fade away. Your arrival, it gave me hope. But I cannot ask this of you. It would be too much. Ethan sat in silence for a long moment, processing everything Naia had told him. The implications were staggering. On one hand, he was a scientist, an explorer. The opportunity to save an entire species, to forge a connection between humanity and an alien race, was beyond his wildest dreams. On the other hand, the personal cost. He looked at Naia, this being who had become so dear to him in such a short time. Could he really offer himself as a food source? What would it mean for him? For his own humanity? As the last rays of the alien suns disappeared below the horizon, Ethan made a decision that would change both their lives forever. Tell me more, he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil in his heart. Tell me everything about how this works, what it would mean. I want to understand. Naia's eyes widened in surprise and hope. You would consider this, even knowing what I am? Ethan nodded slowly. I don't know if I can help, or even if I should, but I care about you, Naia. And if there's a chance I can save you and your people, I have to at least consider it. As night fell on Kepler 22 bits, human and alien sat together, bound by a connection neither had anticipated, facing a decision that could alter the course of both their species. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what would unfold. The following days were filled with intense discussions and careful experiments as Ethan and Naia explored the possibilities and risks of their unique situation. Ethan's scientific curiosity warred with his growing emotional attachment to Naia, while she struggled with her instinctual need and her genuine care for him. The process is not inherently harmful, Naia explained as they sat in her bioluminescent cave. When done properly, it can even be pleasurable for both parties, but it does require a deep connection, a melding of energies. Ethan nodded, trying to maintain a professional demeanor despite the intimacy of the subject. and the long-term effects on the donor. Naia's skin shimmered with what Ethan had come to recognize as concern. In small amounts, there are no lasting effects. The energy replenishes itself naturally, but in larger quantities or over extended periods. She trailed off, her mental voice tinged with worry. It could be dangerous, Ethan finished for her. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Naia had learned indicated stress in humans. And we have no way of knowing how my physiology would react compared to the species you've fed from before. The weight of the decision pressed down on both of them. Ethan knew that his choice wouldn't just affect him and Naia, but potentially the future of two species. If he agreed, it could open up a new chapter in human-alien relations. If he refused, he might be condemning Naia and her people to a slow extinction. As they continued their cautious experiments, Ethan found himself drawn deeper into Naia's world. He learned to sense the energy that flowed through all things on Kepler-22 bits, to feel the pulse of life that sustained the Luminari. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. One evening, as they sat watching the alien sunset, Naia turned to Ethan with a serious expression. "There's something else you should know," she said, her mental voice hesitant. "The sharing of energy, it creates a bond. A deep, lasting connection between giver and receiver." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. What kind of connection? Naia's eyes seemed to glow brighter as she explained. "It's hard to describe in human terms. It's not just physical or mental. It's a joining of essences. In many ways, we would become part of each other." The implications of her words hung heavy in the air between them. Ethan found himself both thrilled and terrified by the idea. He had already formed a deep connection with Naia, one that transcended the boundaries of their different species. The thought of that bond becoming even deeper, more intimate, sent a shiver down his spine. But there were other considerations too. His mission, his duty to Earth and to science. What would this mean for his ability to remain objective, to report his findings accurately? And what about his own humanity? Would he be the same person after such a profound joining with an alien being? As the days passed, Ethan found himself torn between his growing feelings for Naia, his scientific curiosity, and his sense of duty. He spent hours poring over the data they had collected, trying to find a solution that would save the Luminari without putting himself at undue risk. Naia, for her part, was patient and understanding. She never pressured Ethan, even as he could sense her own need growing stronger. Her care for him seemed to outweigh her instinctual hunger, a fact that only made Ethan's decision more difficult. One night, unable to sleep, Ethan stood at the entrance of the cave, gazing up at the unfamiliar stars of Kepler-22 bits. He thought about Earth, so far away, and wondered what his colleagues would say if they could see him now. Would they understand the choice he was facing? Or would they see it as a betrayal of his mission, of his humanity? As he stood there, lost in thought, he felt Naia's presence behind him. Without turning, he spoke softly. "I think I've made my decision." Naia moved to stand beside him, her luminous skin casting a soft glow in the darkness. "Whatever you choose, Ethan, know that my gratitude and my affection for you will not change." Ethan turned to her, his eyes meeting hers in the starlight. In that moment, he knew that whatever came next would change both their lives forever. With a deep breath, he prepared to share his decision, knowing that it would set them on a path neither of them could have anticipated when they first met on this alien world. Ethan took a deep breath, his gaze steady as he looked at Naia. "I want to help you," he said, his voice firm despite the flutter of nerves in his stomach. "But we need to find a way that's safe for both of us, and for our peoples." Naia's eyes widened, a mix of hope and concern washing over her features. "Ethan, are you certain?" "The risks are considerable," Ethan finished for her. "I know, but so are the potential benefits. We have a chance to save your species, to forge a connection between our worlds. I can't walk away from that." Over the next few days, Ethan and Naia worked tirelessly to devise a plan. They combined Ethan's scientific knowledge with Naia's innate understanding of energy transfer, seeking a solution that would allow for a controlled, sustainable exchange. What if we could create a buffer? Ethan mused one evening, sketching out ideas on his tablet. Something that could store and regulate the energy transfer, so it's not a direct connection between us. Naia leaned in, her curiosity piqued. A storage device for life energy. It's an intriguing concept, but I'm not sure how it could be achieved. Ethan's mind raced with possibilities. He thought about the bioluminescent walls of Naia's cave, the strange minerals that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. What if we could use some of the natural resources here on Kepler 22 bits? Something that's already attuned to the energy your people use. As they explored this idea, a plan began to take shape. They would create a device, part biological, part technological, that could safely store and transfer life energy. It would allow Ethan to donate small amounts over time, which could then be distributed among the Luminari as needed. The process of creating this device was fraught with challenges. They faced setbacks and moments of doubt, but with each small success, their hope grew stronger. Ethan marveled at the way their different perspectives and knowledge complemented each other, creating solutions neither could have devised alone. As they worked, the bond between them deepened. Ethan found himself increasingly attuned to the subtle energies around him, while Naia gained a new appreciation for human ingenuity and determination. Their connection transcended the physical, becoming a true meeting of minds and spirits. Finally, after weeks of tireless effort, they were ready to test their creation. The device, a softly glowing orb that pulsed with an inner light, sat between them in Naia's cave. "Are you ready?" Naia asked, her mental voice tinged with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Ethan nodded, trying to calm his racing heart. "As ready as I'll ever be." Slowly, carefully, they began the process. Ethan focused his thoughts, channeling his energy as Naia had taught him. He felt a gentle pull, like a soft current drawing something from deep within him. It wasn't painful, but it was intense, a sensation unlike anything he had ever experienced. The orb between them began to glow brighter, pulsing in rhythm with Ethan's heartbeat. Naia watched in awe, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's working," she breathed, her mental voice filled with joy and disbelief. As the transfer continued, Ethan felt a wave of emotions wash over him, not just his own, but Naia's as well. He could sense her gratitude, her hope, her deep affection for him. It was overwhelming and beautiful all at once. When the process was complete, Ethan slumped back, feeling drained but exhilarated. Naia reached out, her hand gently touching his arm. "Are you all right?" she asked, concern evident in her glowing eyes. Ethan nodded, a tired smile spreading across his face. "I'm okay." It was intense, but not unpleasant. He looked at the softly glowing orb between them. "Did we do it? Will it be enough?" Naia's gaze was filled with wonder as she examined the device. "It's more than I ever dared to hope for. This could save my people, Ethan. You've given us a future." As the reality of their achievements sank in, Ethan felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had done the impossible, created a bridge between their species, found a way to coexist that could benefit both their worlds. But as he looked at Naia, saw the joy and hope shining in her eyes, he realized that they had created something even more remarkable. Their connection, born of necessity and curiosity, had blossomed into something deeper, a bond that transcended the boundaries of their different species. As the twin suns of Kepler 22 bits rose on a new day, Ethan knew that this was just the beginning. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges they had yet to face. But as he stood there with Naia, watching the alien dawn, he felt ready to face whatever came next, together. As the cycles of Kepler 22 bits' twin suns passed, Ethan and Naia's creation began to change both their lives and the fate of the Luminari in ways they could never have imagined. The energy transfer device, which they had come to call the Nexus, proved to be more than just a lifeline for Naia's people. It became a catalyst for profound transformation. Ethan noticed the changes in himself first. His senses seemed sharper, more attuned to the subtle energies that flowed through Kepler-22 bits. He found he could communicate with Naia and other Luminari without words, his thoughts flowing freely in a mental exchange that felt as natural as breathing. His dreams were filled with visions of distant stars and alien landscapes, echoes of the cosmic consciousness Naia had described. "You're evolving," Naia explained one evening as they sat beneath the alien sky. "The energy exchange, it's not just taking from you, it's changing you, awakening dormant potentials within your human physiology." Ethan marveled at this, both excited and slightly unnerved by the implications. Is this how your species began? Through contact with other life forms, Naia's mental voice was thoughtful. Perhaps in the distant past, our legends speak of a great awakening, when our ancestors first touched the cosmic consciousness. Maybe this is history repeating itself. The Luminari, too, were changing. With a steady supply of energy from the Nexus, they grew stronger, their abilities expanding in ways that amazed even Naia. They began to reach out, to explore their world with renewed vigor and curiosity. As news of their breakthrough spread, other Luminari came to meet Ethan, to learn from him and share their knowledge in return. What had begun as a desperate bid for survival was blossoming into a cultural exchange unlike anything in human history. Ethan's original mission, nearly forgotten in the wake of these momentous events, took on new significance. He realized that he now stood at the cusp of something far greater than a simple exploration of an alien world. He was witnessing, and participating in, the birth of a new era of interspecies cooperation. But with these changes came new challenges. As Ethan's connection to the Luminari deepened, he found himself struggling with questions of identity. Was he still fully human? And if not, what was he becoming? Naia sensed his turmoil and offered what comfort she could. "You are still you, Ethan," she assured him, a mental touch a soothing balm to his troubled thoughts. "You're just more. A bridge between our worlds, between what humanity is and what it could become." As they grappled with these profound changes, Ethan and Naia's relationship deepened into something beyond simple friendship or even romantic love. Their bond, forged through shared adversity and mutual understanding, transcended the boundaries of their different species. They were partners in the truest sense, their essences intertwined in a way that defied easy categorization. One night, as they stood watching a meteor shower paint streaks of light across Kepler-22 bits' sky, Ethan turned to Naia with a realization. "We need to share this with Earth," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "What we've discovered here, what we've become, it's too important to keep to ourselves." Naia's eyes glowed with understanding. "It will change everything," she said softly. "Are your people ready for such a transformation?" Ethan considered this, thinking of the fear and wonder that news of the Luminari would bring to his home world. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I believe they need to have the choice, just as I did." The decision made, they began preparations for Ethan's return journey. But it wouldn't be a journey he would make alone. A small group of Luminari, led by Naia, would accompany him, ambassadors to a world they had only glimpsed in dreams and visions. As the day of departure drew near, Ethan stood at the entrance of the cave that had been his home for so many months, looking out at the alien landscape that had become as familiar to him as Earth. He felt a mix of emotions, excitement for the future, nostalgia for the time he had spent here, and a touch of fear for the unknown challenges that lay ahead. Naia joined him, her presence a comforting warmth at his side. "Are you ready?" she asked, her mental voice gentle. Ethan took a deep breath, then nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be. Whatever happens, we face it together." As they made their final preparations, Ethan realized that this wasn't an ending, but a beginning. The story of humanity's first contact with the Luminari was just the opening chapter in a greater saga, one that would reshape the destiny of both their species and perhaps the entire galaxy. With hope in their hearts and the Nexus safely stored for the journey, Ethan and Naia stepped out into the alien sunlight, ready to embark on the greatest adventure of their lives. The transformation that had begun on this distant world was about to spread across the cosmos, heralding a new era of understanding, cooperation, and shared destiny between humanity and the stars. As Ethan's ship lifted off from the surface of Kepler 22 bits, carrying its precious cargo of human and Luminari explorers, he knew that nothing would ever be the same. The universe had opened up before them, full of infinite possibilities and the promise of a future brighter than either of their species had ever dreamed possible.